that cacophony of sound. And I know so many of you, it's so nice to see people that we know coming here and using this facility on a regular basis. The Daytime App program was created for people who have a little bit of time for leisure learning. The intention was to do something interesting every day that stimulates your mind, that gives you food for thought, maybe instead of food for your belly during this lunchtime hour. So noontime lectures are about a wide variety of topics. We talk about art, we talk about, I wanted to say food, we do. We talk with some of the chefs around the city. We talk about politics, we talk about religion. Today we are going to talk about a topic that is a little new to me. I'm so very happy to have, after so much time planning, Dr. Stephen Hodis with us today. Let me tell you a little bit about him, and then we'll open it up to him and questions after, when he's ready for that, if you don't mind. I also wanted to mention that we're taping today. Dr. Hodis is being taped, so if you're playing hooky, it's okay. Nobody will see you. Okay, Dr. Stephen Hodis, he's a board-certified gastroenterologist with over 25 years private practice in Edison and Old Bridge, New Jersey. He has a degree in religious studies, and in addition to his medical practice, he's devoted himself to speaking and writing about metaphysics and healing, with an eye toward helping people regain their health, their strength, their ability to explore all of those challenges in life from a much more spiritual perspective. That's what struck me. His articles have been published in dozens of healing-oriented magazines, such as Townsend Letter for Doctors and Patients, International Journal of Healing and Caring, Wellbeing Journal, Alternatives Magazine, and so many others. He's now in his 4th year of teaching contemporary metaphysics at Brookdale Community College in Lincroft, New Jersey. And it's very nice to have him with us today. Please welcome Dr. Stephen Hodis. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wendy, and thank you all for attending during the middle of what would be, for most of you, I'm sure, a very busy week. Wendy did give introduction about who I am and what I do, and so today I am not wearing my hat as a physician, but as a metaphysician. And I will explain what I mean by that concept. The topic is the relationship between science and spirituality with a historical perspective. And I don't think it takes much imagination to look at the world around us today and see that these issues are quite relevant. Only 10 days ago, the New York Times Sunday magazine had an article entitled Darwin's Brain. That was Darwin's God, but it was about the brain, actually. It was entitled Darwin's God, and it dealt with issues which are directly relevant to the topic at hand, namely the relationship between science, spirituality, religion, the interface between the two, major elements of Western civilization. And I would like to discuss this topic from a variety of aspects and then have time for questions and answers at the end. But first, I would like also to encourage people who are interested in this field of mind, body, science, spirituality, to perhaps touch base with me if they're interested through my blog site, which is metamd.com. And my email address, which is right here, drstevegi@aol.com. I would also like if people would leave their names and email addresses here in order to maintain some sort of connection. I am in the process of writing a book which hopefully will find the light of day within the next year or so. I know this is a very slow process, and essentially it'll be about my own personal journey from kind of a traditional practice to one which we might characterize as more holistic. Today's topic will be a little bit more defined and not really venture too much into the concepts of healing, which is so broad in and of itself. And quite honestly, this topic is massive, so that in some ways this lecture would be, I would think, would be a great introduction to either a series of lectures or courses, if that is meant to be. So let me begin by defining some concepts. And it's interesting that a lot of words we use that we believe we understand the meanings of, turns out that there are a lot of nuances in the use of language. And so it's important, I believe, for me to kind of define what we're dealing with in this lecture today. The title of the lecture was Science, the Relationship Between Science and Spirituality. And if you see on this diagram, I actually had to put a hyphen or a slash with the concept of religion, because spirituality and religion are deeply connected, and yet they're not identical. And it's important to understand that. It's fascinating that if you look at the models of relationships that I've listed below between the two, namely the model of conflict between science and religion, independence between the two, and convergence, I think that what develops are three different ways of looking at the relationship. And if people in the audience would just think right now about where they stand on this, even before we get into the meat of the lecture, it might very well be that most people would make an assumption that science and spirituality are by definition always in conflict. And as we get into this, we may find that that's not necessarily true, and that it depends on, like everything else, how you look at it. So what I'm going to talk about as well is the concept of metaphysics. Now, metaphysics is a very old term, and I think it's often misunderstood, or at least, shouldn't say misunderstood, it's interpreted in a variety of ways. The concept is literally the branch of philosophy that deals with the nature of reality. What is real? What we mean by what is real? And it has a popular connotation, which many of you may immediately regard as the true meaning, which is involvement with paranormal, the occult, New Age phenomenon, and that's actually not the whole picture. When you deal with the issue of metaphysics, in my mind, it incorporates science and spirituality as well as religion. It is kind of the foundation of thinking that leads to these two branches of what I would call branches of metaphysics. They all emerge from a desire to understand what's real. Many of you out there may be interested in that. Others